it was such an interesting way of working.
It has.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, we're here with Linda from Cocina Linda's, and she's going to tell us a little bit more about her restaurant and some of the experience of some of the farmers here with the local food, and then show us how to make some tamales. So,
Linda, can you tell us some of the principles of your restaurant? What stands apart?
Well,
your restaurant
I guess it's the only restaurant that I know of that started at the farmers market, and it's really a product of the local community. And I'm still completely committed to supporting not just Durango, but farming, local farming. We were just talking about it, and it started really as almost like a whim, if you want, where I wanted to show people that Mexican food, as I know it, because I was born and raised in central Mexico, was not the cheesy, greasy thing that is served in so many places. Not to offend them, it's just a different kind of cuisine. You know, Mexican food has incredible influences from indigenous people. The symbol in my shirt is an indigenous woman from my area, which are the Purepecha people. It has African, French, and Spanish influences. So it's extremely rich and varied. And this actually started in England, where this idea, where I was being served food that I didn't like, and that was being called Mexican. And when I got here and I could find the ingredients, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go for it. And it was gonna be a summer thing, and I had heard through a very dear friend of mine, Jen De La Rosa, that the farmer's market was amazing. So I walked into the market the first time 9 years ago with a pop-up tent that I borrowed from a friend, couple tables that she lent me, $2,000 on a credit card, and we made 75 tamales. And it was pretty funny because we sold out in 2 hours. And I kind of went, oh my God. You know, and so the next week, because the market is once a week, we turned up with 100 tamales, sold out. And before I knew, we were selling 200, 250 tamales, and people were asking for other things. I say that we're a product of the community because it was the people of Durango that started saying, well, we want this after the market is over, which it ends because Southwest Colorado and Durango, we have very strong winters. So the market ends in October. And a friend of mine that owns a restaurant here, he came up to me and he goes, Linda, you need a restaurant. I'm like, Cookie, I have no money, no credit. I've been in Europe for 11 years. Nobody's gonna lend me money. And he said, tell you what, I'll lend you my cart, my barbecue cart that I'm not using. Give it a shot. Go and talk to this guy in the Albertsons parking lot. It's a good location.
Which is where we are now.
Which is where you are right now, the weirdest location in town. And he said, have a go and see what happens, you know, keep it going through winter. And I'm like, what if I don't make any money? I have to pay you rent. He looked at me and he smiled and he goes, if you make no money, you pay me no rent. Just do it.
so how long ago was that?
9 years.
9 years ago you started the restaurant. Oh,
9 years ago. A lot of my friendships and my sense of community and everything else, it really started at the market. And it was just unbelievable when we started with the first cart here, you know, which was a third of the size of the trailer kind of trailer that you were filming earlier. People came in winter.
and you were able to get the first
And at that point we couldn't get the local produce because the season ends.
Yes,
that's it, it's over. But it was fascinating because people liked the food enough that they would come in and take 100 menus with them or 50 menus with them. And I'm like, what are you doing with these? And they're like, we're gonna make sure you make it. And I'm like, cool. And the health department would not let us put tables and chairs because it wasn't legal because we didn't have toilets. So we had tree stumps. And it was snowing, and Durangotans are, you know, the locals are known for being tough. And they'd come in the middle of snowstorms and sit in the tree stumps eating their tamales, you know. And they came in storms and the wind would be blowing and we put a little tarp over the window where we served from and they would buy the food and they kept us going. And then we bought the land. And having no credit history, I approached the bank. I said, well, you know, I kind of need to have a restaurant. By then my sister and my niece, the one I was telling you that's in Australia, were here. And I'm like, you know, I kind of need to borrow some money. because now there's 3 of us depending on the business. And I said, and you know, the thing is, I don't have credit history. And he looked at me and he goes, you know, Linda, I said, we started this bank in order to support people like you. So I've seen you at the market, you have a huge line, we love your food, whatever you need, we'll make it happen.
Fantastic.
So that's why I say it's in business terms, this should have not happened, and yet it has. It's bigger than me, it has its own energy, I'm just kind of going with it. And if you want, that's a lot of why I'm committed 9 years later to giving back to the farmers. So I've done everything I can as I've learned about the problems with it to support the farming community.